Surrender is when the ego mind, the ego self, the one who is constantly taking snapshots, the one who is constantly having a commentary about what's happening, what's being experienced, what's being felt, what's being thought, what's being seen. That one, when that one completely gives up its grip on perceived reality, gives up its grip on what it is experiencing. It is a giving up. That's what surrender means. But it's not a giving up to anything or to anyone. Therefore, there is not a power differential. You are not becoming less powerful because you have given up. Essentially, what is being given up is the should and the shouldn't. It should be this way, it shouldn't be this way, which is the commentary of resistance. It totally gives up. That's what I mean by surrender happens by itself. When you meet wholeheartedly, fully, the whole of you, the unfoldment of experience with the quietness of the heart, with the deep of the heart, with the innermost of the heart. Not with the forcefulness of the ego mind, of the ego self. There's no force in this. It's the opposite of force. It's an untanglement of the tight grip. It's an untanglement of the clenched fist inside. The forcefulness, the violence towards your experience. It's the undoing of that. It's a softening. You could say it's a weakening of all mental and emotional and energetic defenses, barriers, barricades. But this weakening is not a disempowerment. On the contrary, there is great power in this. You are liberated from being trapped in an imaginary prison. When surrender happens, there's a mini explosion of joy. Yeah, because the substratum of reality is goodness and joy. All that energy that was held in this is released. Not only is there a relief, but there is a causeless joy. It is not caused by anything. This surrender that's being spoken about is vital on the spiritual path. Yeah, there can be an aha awakening But that is not enough. In order for that illumination to filter in and permeate and shine through the individuation that is you, there has to be a deeper surrender. That can only be found, or can only happen, can only take place in the midst of the everyday life, the everyday interactions, the everyday relationships, the choppiness, the waviness, the movement of life itself. The aha experience can happen, can take place spontaneously anywhere, anytime, in meditation, in stillness, in deep realization, listening to words of wisdom or pointers, in a moment of deep inquiry, in a moment of beauty, in a moment of shock. The aha experience is spontaneous. It's like the blinds have been pulled apart and there's a glimpse. But surrender can only take place in the midst of your everyday life. And really what's happening here, it's with your inner landscape, It's how you are experiencing your everyday life, the challenges, the difficulties. When you get your buttons pressed, the regrets, the retractions, the rejections, the heartbreaks, the losses, the reactivity, the aloneness, the despondency, and so on and so on. This is your inner landscape. It's in that surrender takes place. When you're sitting in meditation and the intensity of physical pain, or the intensity of the mind's scrambling to get away, the deep discomfort that may arise when you've been sitting for an hour or 2 hours, perhaps. It's in that moment. It's in the time when you are alone. You've been alone for a long time. And the kind of desolate landscape opens up inside you. It's in that. It's when a great loss has befallen you and the ground has been pulled out from under your feet and you no longer know who you are. It's in that. If we're lucky, at some point on the spiritual path, when surrender has become your way, shall we say, become your willingness, become your practice, because there can be a vigilance to it, although you cannot do it, There is a vigilance to it. You can notice where you are holding tight, attempting to control, attempting to resist, reject your experience, and so on, constantly labeling. you can be vigilant to that. And in those moments, the very vigilance, the very sensitivity to this tightness, to this clench, allows the possibility of surrender. Because in that moment, you can see the intensity of suffering that is being created. It's a self-created prison. And in that moment, there can be it's like an exhale. Truly, all the way, all the way. And at some point, if you are on a spiritual path, whatever that means, the search for peace, abiding peace, the search for abiding love, the search for clarity, clear seeing, the search for freedom. At some point, if there has been an ongoing surrender in the lived experience, it will take you all the way to the main pin, that which holds this whole illusory self, this me, together. And that is the core wound, if you like, of separation, which actually is not a wound, but is experienced as that, the pain of separation. Somehow, you just can't let go. You're still standing outside of life and it's happening to you. There's still this me here that seems so solid. This me that flits and swings between happiness and unhappiness, between peace and torment. And at some point on the path of surrender, the deepest surrender, the greatest surrender, the final surrender may become available to you.